So I was young, and I thought about it, and I thought, well, I knew my great-grandmother gave birth at home to 8 children, and I knew that my grandmother gave birth at home, just not her home, but the family doctor's home in the town, and that's how birth was in America in that age. And so my mother was born at home, my grandmother was born at home, my great-great-grandmother was born at home, and I was the first baby in the entire family to be born in the hospital. But I was really lucky that my mother labored with her mother and her grandmother, and they knew that labor would take time. So when she wanted to leave for the hospital, they wouldn't let her go, and they kept pushing her into the shower. So she kind of got a lot of water in labor, and they only let her go when she was really almost ready to push. And she arrived at the hospital, and 20 minutes later I was born. So although I was born in a hospital at a time that birth was very medicalized in the US, I still had a good birth, and my mother breastfed me for 2 years. So back then that was really amazing. So now I find myself in a position of trusting all the women before me, but why am I subjected to a medical model of laying down and intravenous drips and everybody talking about your epidural is that's the way to go. Why would you want to do anything without drugs? And I kept thinking, this isn't right. So I didn't know what to do, so I decided to go to McGill Medical School because I was a McGill student. And I went in and I looked for a resident that had never attended a birth. And a lot of people thought that was quite interesting, but I thought, well, they hadn't been indoctrinated yet into the system. So I found a young resident, and he said, well, I've never really followed anyone through a pregnancy. And I said, perfect, because I've never been pregnant before. So we're a really good match. So he had to get permission that he could work with me, and we made a decision that we would have 1-hour visits every month. And I would get a half an hour, and he would get a half an hour. My half an hour was that we were going to read the only 2 books I could find back in '80, which was Immaculate Deception, Suzanne Arms, and Ina May Gaskin's Spiritual Midwifery. And I would kind of quiz him on how did he feel and how were these policies, how would he integrate them? And he would kind of give me the medical model of what he was hearing. So we had quite an interesting journey, even to the point that episiotomy was standard protocol for all first-time moms. And we got to that, and I thought, okay, he was like, it's just policy. And so I came back in one day and I wrote a little contract, and it was, if you don't cut me, I won't cut you. And I said to him, I don't know how you feel about your penis, but I really don't want my vagina cut, and I take full responsibility. And he was a little stunned at this whole thing.